I've always liked music since when I was very small, and I was sent for piano lessons when I was 4. So at the beginning it felt like there wasn't a choice. It was just music was part of things. When I was at school there was a teacher who set up a film club, and we went to watch mainly Italian, Spanish and French films, mainly of the 50s and 60s, and I really fell in love with how diverse the soundtracks were and what the music was doing and how it functioned. I think that a good soundtrack can shine a light on different aspects of the character's emotional landscape that maybe you don't see otherwise, and I think it's like another dimension. You've got the visual thing, you've got the dialogue, and you have music, which is a kind of impenetrable, almost abstract form. I think you have to find the right soundtrack, I think you have to really pay attention to looking at what you're working on. So you have to try and find the heart of the project, whether it's a love story or a story of loss or a comedy. I don't know, comedy's much more difficult in fact. But you have to try and find the center of it, and you try and find what that does to you, what that makes you feel. In practical terms, you might write 2 or 3 different themes and present them to the director, and then start to discuss which one works for both of you. I mean, you can write a soundtrack on a piece of paper and hand it to a guitarist, you know, but I suppose you could write a soundtrack on a keyboard and not hand it to anyone. You could do it all yourself. I mean, obviously there's a certain level of technical skill and equipment needed. But you could say, I'm going to record this piano in a barn, in a farm or something, with one microphone, and say that's the choice I want to make. That's the soundtrack that we should have for this film. So there's a huge range of possibilities. It could be with an orchestra of 70 people, or it could be with one person playing a Portuguese guitar, for example. I think the main challenge, in fact, is making the relationship with the director work, so that you have to feel that you start to understand each other, and that that your language and your approach come together. During my life I've listened to all sorts of different kinds of music, so inevitably you're influenced by other composers, and not necessarily wanting to be like them, but everything you hear has an impact on you and makes you think, ooh, that's very nice, I like that, I like piano and double bass, I don't like that. And so you are guided by your influences. But the thing that stimulates you in the writing of the film is the film itself. In September I've written a film which I'm co-directing, so I also will write the music for it, because I thought I'd be so horrible to work with if I got another composer. I think I'll write it myself. The biggest piece of advice is to say yes, and it's very difficult. So somebody says, the director says, can we make this all on I don't know, a cello, no other instruments. And you might have looked at the film and thought you want to do it with a jazz quartet. Your instinct could be to say, no, we can't do that. But it's best to say yes, and then think of ways in which that idea can work for you.